Hey guys, how are you? I hope you took some time today to kind of plan for your week and put some stuff into perspective for what you have planned this week. I wanted to come on tonight and just encourage somebody, and I hope this helps somebody. Um, this weekend I met a young lady. She did my braids. Y'all like my braids? Um, and we were kind of just talking about where she was in her entrepreneurial journey and how she has kind of like questioned God about where am I, what am I doing, um, how is it all going to come together. Um, she pretty much was sharing how God has given her different dreams. And she's seen things. She's seen herself in different salons. She's seen herself teaching other people about the hair industry. And she's like, she sees these dreams and she believes God, but her reality just isn't measuring or matching her dreams. And it's a little frustrating. And so, usually, when I meet somebody for the first time, um, I'm not like a braggadocious person. So when I meet somebody for the first time, I'm literally listening for how I can serve, how I can pour into them eventually, throughout the conversation, not starting off. But so she was sharing, her story. She was sharing how, she's had some experiences with some business partners, some people she had went into establishments with, and how things didn't work out, and how she's just believing God. She's in a place where it's a lot on in her life, but she's believing God, and so it was good to talk to her, right? And then somewhere along the time that she was talking and sharing with me, we both got quiet, and I was just letting her do my hair, and then she finally came out and said, "What do you do?" And I was like, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a mentor. I'm a business coach. I do a couple of things. And I said, but, I kind of shared my story with her, right? Just letting her know how I stepped out on faith and started this business 9 years ago. So, from talking to her this weekend and encouraging her and kind of pouring into her, I thought about a story in my journey that I don't always share with people because um, I felt really, it was a time when I felt the most defeated. And it was a time that I was allowing comparison to be a thief. Like I allowed comparison to kind of rob me of some of my journey, or not rob me of my journey, but I allowed it to kind of like mess with my head a little bit. So I'm gonna tell you guys what happened. Pretty much in 2013, 2014, I was kind of getting like the bug, right? I had been teaching at that point. I had been teaching or working with children since I was 17 years old, okay? And so I'm coming up around that time on age 30, and actually, I had just turned 30. And so it was just a lot going on, right? I think I was having like a mini midlife crisis. Not like the one I had when I turned 40, but a mini one, right? And so I wanted more. And I think we all can relate with that, wanting more, right? So I wanted more. I was trying to figure some things out. At this point, I had been in the school district. Um, I had been in the school district for 6 years, and I was feeling something. I was just feeling like this is for the birds. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this no more. I know I went to school for this. I know I paid Sally Mae all this money. I got in all this debt to get this darn degree, and I don't want to be here no more. I don't like it. I want to take my ball and go home, right? And so that particular year, I had a one-on-one in my classroom who was working with a student. And she was working with this student, and the student was off the hook, right? The student was so off the hook, me and her kind of had conversations just to make the time pass because this student was off the hook. I'm talking about throwing chairs, chasing students, attempting to cut people's hair, Just like, a lot of outbursts, eloping. They had to like call him over the loudspeaker in the morning to come get medication. So they were medicating this boy. His mom had some family history of some things. His dad had some family history of some things. He was incarcerated for like murder. And so they already knew this little boy had some psychological diagnoses and some behavioral stuff going on and some learning disabilities. So he was like he was a lot, right? And so the issue was that this particular, and it's not funny, it's just that this is the craziness we worked through. The issue was that the student had hurt himself like 2 years previous, right? He fell, something hit him. And so the mom was in open litigation between the school district, and his child, right? And so the administration had pretty much told us whatever he does, we cannot bother him. We can't suspend him. We can't get on him. We can't do anything because we're in open litigation, and we can't, if we try to expel him or suspend him, it's going to make it look like we're trying to cover our tracks because the mom was still in the school. So it was just a lot with this student. And so me and her, because she was his one-on-one and she was in my classroom, we would like talk and chat it up and, try to get through the 90 minutes of her being in my class with me trying to teach this boy, and he was off the hook. And so one day, she told me that she was in the process of opening a child care center. And at that time, me and my husband were in the process of rehabbing our basement. We were in the midst of rehabbing our basement because we were opening a child care facility too. And so that in the end of that particular school year, I made the conscious decision not to return back to teaching, and that we were just going to pursue this child care industry full time. And so in September, she went back to school as a one-on-one, but I wasn't there anymore. So I would talk to her, and my husband would talk to her husband. And then one day, I think it just hit her like, I'm dragging my feet. I need help. And so me and my husband went and helped her and her husband open her child care facility. So we're in there till like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. At this point, I only had my 2 boys. And so me, my husband, and my 2 boys are going up to her daycare. My husband is like, babe, it's 12 a.m. You take the boys home and I'll stay and, continue to work at the daycare. So my husband really went all in to help this young lady and her husband get their daycare open, because they were about to have an inspection to get open, and our home program at this point was already open. So we technically got licensed around the same time. So I remember one day she came to me and she had twins. And so, and if she ever sees this video, like, this is absolutely no shade. It's just me sharing my story, girl. Anyway, so she had a set of twins, and her twins were a little rambunctious, and she was a new business owner. And I feel like she didn't want to open her childcare program with her twins because they were so rambunctious and because they were so clingy. So she asked me if she could enroll her twins in my program. And we ironically wound up living like 8 minutes from each other. So her husband would drop the twins off to me. She would go ahead and open a childcare facility. And then somewhere around like the 6-month point, one of the teacher aides from the school we worked at also worked at her childcare facility. So at my program, in my house, was me and my mom, and at her program was her and the teacher aide. And so, September comes, October comes, November comes, and I really didn't have a lot of students. I had her twins and another child, and then I had my niece. And so I had 4 kids during daytime, between 3 and 4 depending on the day. And then around 3 o'clock, I picked up her niece, which was another one of her family members. I picked up her niece from her preschool, and then my 2 boys came home. So I had 7 kids altogether, 6 at one time, because in Philly, you can only have 6 kids in your home child care program. So I started, right? And it's going, but I'm not seeing what I needed to see financially. And I definitely wasn't feeling like I was being fulfilled. I wasn't feeling like that I was really making a real impact, and I just didn't feel what I thought I was going to feel. And so one day, me and her and the aide were talking. They were at their child care and I was at my home program. And so the aide was like, Joy, how many kids you got over there today? And I was like, just two. And she was like, just two? Oh my goodness, girl. It's like a circus over here. We got kids everywhere. We got kids calling. We got kids coming. Girl, you sitting over there with two kids. You should put them in the car and come over here with us. And so when she said it, even if it wasn't intentional, it hurt my feelings. It hurt my feelings, and because I was at a place where I was so tender and vulnerable and just so emotional with this whole business thing, like, oh my gosh, I'm so emotional. It really hurt my feelings. And so I was like, all right, y'all, go ahead. We're about to have lunch. So we still had a schedule in my little home program with my little two kids. Okay, we had a schedule. And so I had to get off the phone with them because in my schedule, it was time for lunch and these kids was about to go to nap. And so I gave them their little lunch and we put them down for a nap. And I would go on break and then my mom would go on break and we would, take turns or whatever. And so I remember my husband called and he could hear it in my voice. I was not happy. And my husband was like, babe, what's wrong? And I was like, man, they called me earlier from so-and-so daycare, and I mentioned the two people who were on the phone. And I said, man, I just feel some type of way. He was like, why you feel some type of way? I said, because I'm over here with these darn two kids. I got a whole master's degree, a bachelor's degree, pursuing a doctorate. And I'm sitting over here with two kids. I said, I'm stressed out, man. I said, man, I got curriculum. I got lesson plans. I got daily schedules. I got a parent board and a sign-in sheet. I'm using my darn washing machine as a display board. I got all the little folders and stuff on the washing machine in the hallway, and my basement. Like I'm gonna put a picture in this video. My basement was like a real classroom, and I put a lot of work into that classroom. And for me to only be sitting there with those two kids, three kids on a good day, I was frustrated. I was like stagnated again. And I was like, it's just not fair. I'm like, they sitting over there. I hear Donald Duck in the background. They feeding them kids cheese twists and playing all day. And I'm over here really educating. And I'm not making no money. And I can only get 6 kids in the house at a time. I said, so I'm like limited. And I'm frustrated. And I'm mad. And I'm like, man, I don't understand this. Like, I'm not trying to talk about them. But I know that I'm doing, you know what I mean? Like I felt like I was going above and beyond. I felt like they was clowning me, and I felt like they wasn't as thorough as me when it came to teaching these kids, right? And so my husband listened to me, and by this point I was crying, and I was frustrated, and my husband was like, "You done?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "First of all, stop comparing yourself to other people. Their journey is their journey, and your journey is your journey. And where you're going, they may not be able to go. And where they're going, you might not be able to go. But y'all both moving, y'all both doing good. Don't compare yourself." He says, "It's not going to be like this always, babe. This is just the beginning." And I got off the phone with my husband that day. And although he was right, in that moment, I wanted a quick fix. In that moment, I just wanted to feel justified. In that moment, I just wanted to feel like, dang, man, like something going to happen tomorrow. The doors is going to be open. Kids is just going to start flooding and you're going to be okay. But that didn't happen, okay? So that was 2014. So 2015 comes, we do get another location, which is a commercial building that can have 12 children. 2016 comes, we're working at commercial location with the 12 children. We're up to 2 shifts. We're up to about 30 kids, 25 kids. Then that summer we do a summer program, and that summer I was only supposed to have 12 kids. I had got up to like 26, 27 kids. So what happened was I answered the phone. The phone rang at the childcare. I answered the phone, and the lady was like, "Hi, can you tell me how many children you're zoned for?" And because I was used to getting enrollment phone calls, when she asked me how many children I was zoned for, my antennas, like my spidey sense, was like, something ain't right. And so I was like, how old is your child, ma'am? And she was like, trying to make something up. She was like, he's 4, but I just want to know how many children you're zoned for. And the vocabulary, that she was using, zoned for, just made me feel like she was somebody from the neighborhood that probably saw I had 20-something kids out there in their front yard, and she's about to tell on me. And so from that point, we started looking for another facility. So this was the end of 2016. So 2017 comes March, so it's the beginning of the year still. Excuse me. It's the beginning of the year still. It's March. I see this center. Well, I see this real estate building. I'm gonna link a picture for that as well. I see this real estate building, and I'm like, oh wow, that's a big building, and it was all one floor. And so I called the number, and the guy was like, hey, we already have somebody looking to make it a Shake Shack and a medical marijuana facility. He was like, I'm waiting to hear back on zoning on both, but if you want to come in and see it, you can see it. So I was like, well, how much is the rent? He said it's $5,000 a month, and at that point, I'm like, I ain't got no $5,000 a month, but I got faith. And so I said, okay, I'll come in and see it. And so I went in to see it. My husband was away that weekend, and he wasn't able to come and see it with me. So I went in to see it by myself. And when I started walking through, I literally saw the classrooms. It was all cubbies. It was all offices. They were very like small, like boom, boom, boom. And in my mind, I'm like, knock this wall down, knock that wall down, expand that wall, pull this carpet up. This is what I'm doing in my brain, right? So I'm walking through, and I'm like, okay, it's $5,000 a month. How much do I need to move in? He said, you need first month's rent, 1 month's rent, first month's rent, last month's rent, 1 month security. And I was like, okay, five, carry the 1, bring down the 2. Yeah, that's $15,000 that I don't have. And so I didn't say that to him, but that's what I was thinking in my head, right? And so I go ahead and I talked to my husband about it, and my husband was like, oh, okay, $15,000, okay. And then, you're going to need enough for payroll for that first month. You're going to need enough for supplies, paint, because the building needed a lot of work. And so fast forward, the medical marijuana place, they couldn't get the zoning for, so that company was out. In the meantime, a grocery store stepped up and wanted it, and then it was Shake Shack. And so we were getting a little, antsy, because I knew these people' money was longer than mine at that time. And I'm like, well, if it's for me to get it, I'll get it. But if it's not, I got to move on. And so the landlord called me and said, can we meet with you and your husband? We want to have a conversation with you guys. So they met with me and my husband. They had a conversation with us, and he was like, listen, it's some other people who definitely have a business plan and better things in place than you do, but it's something about you. I just want to give you guys an opportunity. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And so we began to share who we were and what we did and where we came from and how we had, children in our lives all around, between, from being foster parents, kinship care parents, and all of that. And so the landlord was like, it's something about you guys. I'm just willing to give you a shot. He said, just promise me that you'll operate in integrity and you'll keep your word by paying and taking care of the building. And I was like, you have my word. And so that was March 2017. June 2017, we were licensed for 60 children. And by August 2017, when I tell you business was booming, business was booming. Okay, business is booming, but business was booming in 2017. We couldn't take kids in fast enough. We had a waiting list. We had staff coming to work. Like literally, I opened up, and that property is on a corner, and so we opened up. And we kind of start putting new signage out because it said Remax Realty before. or something realty group. And so we started putting signage up. We started putting, everything up to let the community know we were there. And people were starting to just come past. One lady, Miss Tina, shout out to Miss Tina, my infant teacher. She knocked on the door like, "Hi, I have my whole folder of all of my clearances, all of my trainings, all of my education. I work at a child care center not too far from here, but they're about to close down. And I love children. I don't want to be out of work. Are you hiring?" And I was like, "Am I hiring? Girl, I needed you 2 days ago." So I interviewed her, checked her references. She lived right around the corner. And like people just started to flood in. And so I remember, sitting back with my husband, and in 2017, by the end of 2017, we were in position to buy another property. So we decided to buy a home in New Jersey, which was the most expensive at that time. That was the most expensive property we had purchased, and we were able to purchase that together as a family. And I remember my husband looking at me. We were in a car driving to Jersey to sign some paperwork for our house. And my husband looked at me and he said, "Babe, remember when so and so called you and was kind of teasing you about not having no kids? Remember how upset you were and sad you were that, you weren't really making it?" He said, "Babe, how you feel now?" And I remember like, wow, God, you did that. You did that. You brought me from a very, very, very long way. And I'm talking about like when I left, I had my 401k a little bit saved up. I had unemployment. I was getting unemployment, and I had like other money. So it was like it wasn't like extremely uncomfortable, but it was a little uncomfortable because even though I was a classroom teacher and not making that much, it was a steady not that much. So if I was bringing home $1,200 every 2 weeks, or if I was bringing home $800 every 2 weeks, it was steady. You know what I mean? I brought it home, and so I remember in that moment just be like God, thank you for your faithfulness. Thank you for remembering me. Thank you for holding your promise to me, because I had already, it had already been spoken over my life that I was going to do great things. It had already been spoken over my life that I was going to achieve great things. And mind you, you know, I know God has so much more for me. So this is just the surface. But I remember in that moment just feeling like, dang, God, you really brought me out of that. And so from those lessons, I've developed a few things. First of all, let me read this scripture to you guys. It's a few points that I want to share with you guys, okay? So the scripture is Zachariah 4:10, and it says, "Do not despise small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." The Lord rejoices to see the work begin. And if you look up small beginnings, it means hard work, unglamorous tasks, long hours with little encouragement. It says, because no one is there to see what you are doing and praise your hard work doesn't mean you should stop, right? And so the thing that originally brought this story back to my memory this morning is today is the young lady Jasmine that I met this weekend. Shout out to Jasmine, she's such a sweetheart. And it brought it to my memory because seeing her in her, she has a salon suite, and she had me, my two daughters, another young lady, and another young man. So that was five of us all waiting for her to service us, the first to get her hair done, and she had another young lady in there helping her. I saw something in her that I saw in myself when I was 28, 29, grinding, starting this business. I saw something in her that made me want to tell her, "Girl, you ain't seen nothing yet. You are going to be just fine." You don't have to worry. You don't have to fret. Don't even be discouraged because you are going to be just fine. The season that you're in right now is just the waiting process. It's just the go through to get through process. You are going to be just fine. And it made me think about young ladies like her all over the world. It made me think about young entrepreneurs, young men like her all over the world who have big dreams, big goals, big aspirations, but they don't always have big support, who have friends who don't really understand where they're coming from or where they're going, who don't always feel like they had it all figured out, and sometimes they feel inadequate and they feel like they don't measure up. It made me think of the people who are fighting, 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 fighting for something greater. And I just wanted to get on here and give you some encouragement. And so I'm going to try to sum this up in 5 tips. I'll do 5 because I like the number 5. So the first thing is never compare yourself to anybody else. Your journey is your journey and their journey is theirs. And when you compare, it often robs you of the joy that you get on the journey. Because if you're always looking at, dang, look at them. They already got a sign. They already got a van with their name on the side of it. They got more customers than me. If you're always looking at somebody else and comparing yourself to what they're going through and what you don't have versus what they have, you rob yourself from the joy. It's joy on every journey. Good or bad, up or down, it's still joy through every journey. So don't compare yourself to anyone else. Number 2, get you a solid crew. I'm talking about not the girls that you gotta worry about if they backbiting, talking about you, laughing behind your back, taunting you, teasing you, mistreating you, lying on you, gossiping about you. Not them. I'm talking about a solid crew. I'm talking about a crew like if I text you this emoji, you already know, start praying. If I call you at 2 a.m., you already know I'm not calling you out of disrespect because I expect you to be at my beck and call, but you know it's an emergency and I need you. If I say, sis, can you pray and fast with me today? They gonna pray and fast with you. If you need somebody who is going to hear you out, if you need somebody that's going to make an investment. I remember one time I had a girlfriend. She would call me like, girl, can I borrow $500 until, because in the Philly, childcare only got paid once a month. And so she would be like, listen, can I borrow this until the 20th? And I'd be like, sure, you got it. And if I needed to borrow something from her until the 20th, we did that when we first started out. And it was okay because we were able to do that for each other because we were solid in each other's lives. So get you a solid crew. That's the second one. The third one, I need you guys who are like, I want to start a business. I want to start my business. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. I need you guys to start journaling, right? I need you to start journaling and putting some dates on it and putting some expectations, because what I realize is a lot of people are out here talking about what they want to do. They're talking about what they want to achieve, but a dream without a goal or a date is just like a figment of your imagination. What's written is what's real. And so when you write it down, when you put a date to it, when you put okay, in 3 months, I want to have my name picked out, my EIN, my business account open. You know what I mean? When you start putting realistic steps in place, I feel like that, just like that scripture said, don't despise the small beginnings, because God is pleased to see the work begin. God is pleased to see the work begin. Write it down. Put some dates on it. Put some action steps behind it. This is what I'm feeling today. This is what I want to see accomplished. This is what I want to work through. All right, so that's my third tip. My fourth tip is iron sharpens iron. A lot of you who are big dreamers, people love to attach themselves to you. They love to feed off of you because you're motivational, you're inspiring, you're a dreamer. Who wouldn't want to be around you? But because you are iron, you need to be sharpened by other iron. So you can't get around wood and you can't get around plastic and wonder why you feel dull. Wonder why you don't feel like, motivated yourself. It's because you're pouring out and nobody's pouring into you. So I need you to get around a community that supports you. I need you to get around a mentor, a coach that's going to pour into you, that's going to give you strategy, that's going to help you, okay? And I want you to realize that even when it gets uncomfortable, even if you feel like they telling me to go live, they telling me to post pictures, I don't want nobody to know my business. Listen, if I can teach you how I made my first $500,000, right? And I got proof, I got receipts, and you feel like I only ever made $10,000, listen to somebody who knows a little bit more than you. Listen, just listen. Do it. But if you are a big dream person and you tell your dreams to small-minded thinkers, it's going to crush your dreams because you're going to feel like they don't get me. Maybe it's me. Maybe I shouldn't even be thinking like this, and that's not the case. So that's why you have to get around iron that sharpens iron, which leads me to my fifth point, which is the environment that you tolerate becomes the environment that you cultivate, whether you mean to or not. And so you have to start going where you are celebrated and not just tolerated. You have to go where you are taking environments and you're making sure that these atmospheres and these environments are the most conducive for your success. What do you mean, Coach Joy? I'm going to tell you. If I take a fish and put it in a forest, the fish will suffocate. Why? The most conducive environment for a fish to thrive in is water. The fish needs water. It can swim in the water. It can breathe in the water. It can produce in water. It can eat in water. It can thrive in water. But if I take a fish and I put it in a forest and I say, go be a fish, swim, but I have not created the environment that the fish needs to thrive, I am doing the fish a disservice. A lot of you are fish. You're big fish, okay? You're like the big, beautiful trout, rainbow, whatever the most beautifulest fish of the sea is, you're that fish. But a lot of y'all is hanging in the forest instead of the water, and you're suffocating. You feel like you're gasping for air. You feel like you just feel uncomfortable, and it's because you're not in the most conducive environment for your success. And so take some time to get in the most rewarding, conducive, cultivating environment that you most possibly can. And once you get in that environment, I want you to thrive. I want you to grow. I want you to expand. I want you to cultivate. I want you to procreate. I want you to get out there and be so brilliant, so talented, so wonderful that you produce other fish. And that is where you'll see the best, most rewarding results. See, when I was in my home basement, I was like a fish out of water because my home basement was a start, but it wasn't where I was able to thrive the most, okay? And then even now, once I got into the childcare business and I was in the childcare facilities and I was my own director, I was my own cook, I was my own van driver, curriculum person, HR department, I did everything. But once I started to grow, develop, and cultivate other leaders, I no longer had to be here because now you're the leader. You're the next fish. You're in your environment. But me being here, it was kind of like stagnating my team because my team was not going to show up to the best of their ability because I was always there to guide them and lead them. Some of you have to get back in the best cultivating environment for you to thrive, and it's time. And so I just wanted to come on and share that with you. Like I said, it's late. I need to get to bed. I got all this energy, and it's like 11:51. You guys believe that? It's 11:51. I'm going to attach some pictures in this video, just to show you guys some behind the scene and kind of show you the home daycare versus the centers now. And then I just wanted to also say, if you are watching this video, if anything in this video touched you, motivated you, encouraged you, and you want more, I want you to join our Kingdom Business Believers community. Anybody could join, all are welcome. However, we do teach biblical principles, and I want you to be aware of that. I wouldn't want you to be offended or anything, but these are principles that I have used over the past 10 years in business to grow, to start, and to scale a successful business. And I tell people all the time, if you are in business and you're making a revenue but you're not making profits, then to be very honest, you're not in business. You just have a very expensive habit. And it's time out for that. It's 2023. We're about to go in 2024. It is so much more God wants us to do, wants us to achieve, wants us to accomplish. And we want to be like the wise man who did not bury his talents, but he tripled them. He invested them, and he saw them grow. And so we want to be wise in this season. We want our talents to grow. We want to have resources that other people can use and benefit from. And we want to have wisdom. And we don't want to be a fish in a forest. We want to be a fish in the right school of fish, okay? We want to be in the water. We want to be in the best environment to see our business grow and thrive. And we can't do that hanging around people who don't know what you're talking about and don't know anything about business, all right? So I'm going to attach the link to that as well. And I want you guys to really look out for what's next, all right? Have a good night. I'll talk to you guys later. Don't despise small beginnings. They have a purpose. See ya.